it's mine. Oh, I get by with the help from my friends. Oh, I'm gonna try with the help from my friends. Thanks so much. Get high with the help from my friends. The help from my friends.
Dear whoever, hope you enjoyed that introduction. Live music by the transit station. Not quite sure what they're saying. Something about not needing anyone, fucking family and friends, kiss my ass, blah blah blah. Not quite sure what the lyrics were. He had a nice voice. Didn't give him any money. He actually has a proper haircut, a guitar, and amplifier. Probably doesn't need my 25 cents. Train. Suppose I could ask for his email address. Sent him a free subscription to the School of Comedy. Maybe he could learn how to throw in a few jokes in between the songs, especially since he's right at a crosswalk. And he could just pause, or at the end of the song, he just call out someone at the sidewalk, roast them, make fun of them. Assuming they look like they have an actual fucking sense of humor, which 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday, most people don't. Except for the 2 kids in the park playing soccer who brought their net today. This is a new occurrence in the day of a life, or in the life of Dave. Everything else is the same at the library. Pretty Asian girl walking by in a red jacket. Oh, she's turning back. Oh, I think she's scared of the soccer boys. Obviously, trains going by every 2 to 3 minutes. And I'm just killing time before I go inside the library and continue the School of Comedy script by hand. Otherwise, someone's going to accuse me of not being the creative genius that I am. That somehow the voice in my head is responsible for all this creativity. And that she should get the credit, not me. She should somehow get 50% of this. Why? I don't know. The only way to prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt is for me to type on a keyboard. I record it, but I don't have a GoPro or a body cam. And the battery in my other cell phone sucks. And it becomes so fucking important, I'll FOIA request the security footage of me typing to prove it. Alright, here's the deal. I'll sweeten the offer. So I found her, and I'll take a picture of your bratty kids for free once a year, under the condition that you bring them to my favorite library and don't tell them they're being photographed. I could only do this after I've raised enough money for a camera, or I've guilted someone into giving me a camera, or a camera has fallen into my lap, or all the above. No. If you're a founder and also have a Chinese baby, then you get the special one-time offer. One-time offer to the person who knows who I'm talking to, or who I'm talking to. Same person from the other day. The only person I personally know who's reading or listening to this who could actually have a Chinese baby. Might be one other listener, but that's just going based on his username, which could be fake. And since I only deal in fact and what I can prove beyond the shadow of a doubt, I can prove that one person listening to this could come into my backyard with their Chinese baby, or a Chinese baby. Does not be hers, or just a baby. Does not be Chinese, or if bring me a baby is like too difficult or too hard or whatever, grande pike, heavy cream, 1 stevia will do. Or nothing. Well, that's my comedy lesson for the day, is if you have something you think's funny, just keep grinding at it and grinding at it till either it becomes funny or it lands in the shit pile. Telepathy Tapes podcast was supposed to come out today and it hasn't so far, so I was going to do a reaction video. Instead, I'm going to go inside and type my little fingers off. Alright, I'm going to try something different today, since all you... The perfect word for you guys really is quite rude and vulgar, but it's the perfect word. The number one of comedy is you gotta take the shot, you gotta say the joke. What's the worst that can happen? You lose a listener or two? $5 a month down the drain? Big fucking deal. Because we all know you're a bunch of cheap cunt skates. Instead of cheapskates, you're cunt skates. Which actually puts the emphasis more on skates. Very Canadian. Anyways, pretty cheap cunt skates. I'm gonna do a reactionary video, audio, to the Telepathy Tape Season 2, Episode 1, Near-Death Experiences, and the continuum of consciousness. Doing this in honor of Casper Site. Go to YouTube, search for Casper Site. He just got 1 million fucking subscribers. Even though he deserves 2 million. But I'm gonna be a cunt myself. Even if I get 1 million subscribers, I'm gonna still charge him $5 a month. All the money's going to the Grace Foundation, so what the fuck. Anyways, enough of that. I have no idea how this is gonna sound. I really don't give a fuck. But something that sounds good. Send podcasting equipment. Cheap buggers.
To the Telepathy Tapes podcast. Hi everyone, this is Kai Dickens, and you're listening to the Telepathy Tapes podcast. In season 1, non-speakers showed us that telepathy is possible, shattering our assumptions about the world itself. This season, we're turning to others who've also been dismissed, doubted, or mocked for the ways they claim to know, see, heal, or create. What if only by listening to those who've been ignored, we could unlock the deepest mysteries of who we are, where we come from, and where we're going? This is the Telepathy Tapes, and we're opening up the next channel. Last season, we met non-speakers who revealed rich inner lives, despite years of being dismissed as incapable. Some shared what few thought possible, that telepathy wasn't fantasy, but survival, that they connected in a shared mental space called the Hill, and at times with those who had passed on. And over the past few months, rigorous scientific testing has begun to confirm what many families have long asserted. In tightly controlled, double-blind telepathy experiments conducted across rooms and even zip codes, independent researchers are now witnessing what families and teachers have: clear, repeatable, mind-to-mind communication that defies chance. That should make everyone out there sit up, because validating telepathy makes it harder to dismiss other things non-speakers have shared, especially their claims of talking to people who've passed. Those claims are just...
All right. Swell. Release the footage. I mean, you're obviously 100% convinced. Great. Release the footage. Or release the reason why you're afraid to release the footage. Or are the people in the footage somehow involved? Or what? Because you're making it sound like it should be on the news, and it's not on the news, so there's still a problem. However, I'll continue to listen. Although if I was a regular listener, I'd say prove telepathy first, then by all means go on to NDE, OBE, ABC, EFG, don't give a fucky train.
This is consequential as telepathy, maybe even more so. And that's the question that's been tugging at me for months. When someone says they're receiving messages from beyond the grave, what or who exactly are they connecting with? Is it like recalling a memory, or could someone be accessing an informational field, a shared consciousness, the echoes of someone who actually lived on Earth? Physicists now believe that the edge of a black hole may store every bit of information that's ever entered it. What if the boundary between life and death were...
Big fucking deal. Prove it, physicists. I could say every piece of information is stored in my asshole. Prove me right, prove me wrong. If you've gone to the Casper site, and you've watched his reaction videos, Ben's, you'll see he's a kind and gentle man. I'm a prick.
the same way? And consciousness doesn't vanish, but is encoded in some invisible field at the edge of what we can know. Not lost, just transformed. Or what if the non-speakers were actually talking to a soul? Real individuals who lived on Earth but without a body. And so it made me realize that before we return to stories like Amelia's, who in our next episode is overwhelmed by a flood of messages from the beyond, we need to lay a foundation. We need to ask the deeper question: does consciousness survive death? And perhaps the best place to begin is with those who've been there and returned.
He was lying on his deathbed, and his soul leaves his body and he goes to the other world, and he meets a being of light in the form of the sun god.
What you're hearing is a near-death experience, or NDE for short.
And then he meets another panel of deities who are also radiating light, and they perform a sort of evaluation of his earthly life.
You've probably heard one of these before, but this near-death experience is nearly 4,000 years old.
And then he meets his deceased relatives. There's a banquet thrown in his honor, and then he's sent back to his body.
It's one of the earliest accounts in writing.
This is about 1800 BCE from ancient Sumer.
Dr. Gregory Shushan is one of the world's leading authorities in near-death experiences and how they shaped ancient civilizations. Dr. Shushan has multiple degrees, he's written 7 books, and he left no stone unturned in his research. He compared everything from
ancient Egyptian afterlives with Sumerian, the Vedic period of India, which is the foundational era for all of the later Hindu religions, as well as Buddhism. And then in some African, sub-Saharan African societies, and then the Mesoamerican religions in Aztec and Mayan civilizations.
At first, near-death experiences weren't on his radar. He was just looking at afterlife beliefs across multiple ancient cultures.
Specifically at their afterlife beliefs as expressed in their ancient texts that describe journeys to the other world. And they did find the same consistent 9 thematic elements that seem to be imported onto each of these civilizations as a whole, almost. Leaving the body, traveling through darkness, coming into a realm of light, meeting a being of light, meeting the deceased ancestors, a review of the life. But what I didn't expect on top of that was to find actual accounts of near-death experiences in all of these ancient civilizations.
Getting bored.
Narrative accounts of historical people who died, came back to life, and talked about the experiences of their consciousness during that period. That was really surprising to me because, again, I just thought I was going to be comparing afterlife beliefs.
Which raises an intriguing question. What if our beliefs about the afterlife aren't just symbolic stories handed down through generations, but records of real human experiences? What if, thousands of years ago, people weren't simply imagining what happens after death, they were reporting it?
I did a second study comparing actual near-death experience accounts from Polynesia, Micronesia, Melanesia, and Australia, Native Americans, Sub-Saharan Africa. And they found dozens of accounts of people within these societies actually saying, this specific person died, went to the other world, and came back on this particular date. And the reason we know about the afterlife, the reason we have these beliefs about the afterlife that we have, is because of what that person told us. So this whole idea that people's afterlife beliefs, religious beliefs in the afterlife, are originating with near-death experience was basically validated by a lot of these cases.
So I wanted to talk with someone who had their own near-death experience that changed the way they thought about the world. And who better than a neurosurgeon?
I'm Evan Alexander, MD. I taught.
Yeah, not working for me. Go back to an original complaint, release the fucking footage, prove telepathy, then move on to the next. But by all means, sign up for your Casper site. Change your pace. Well, that's not going to work out, but I'm going to put it up there anyways because why the fuck not? And just found a water bottle, but it's too old. Very fussy about the stainless steel water bottles I find in the woods. Some guy wearing a phone brace, which could work perfectly as a body cam for my second phone, but anyways, the point I was going to make is if you listen to the Neuralink predictions shit, part of that was about psychosomatic use. I have a perfect example from a so-called loser, Charlie Sheen. If you watch his documentary on Netflix, he'll talk about how his drug dealer and or I can't remember the other person, basically just slowly reduced the amount of crack in his crack while letting him believe he was still taking that same amount of crack, and because he trusted the source of his drugs, crack, he continued to party, but over time it eventually stopped the chemical reaction. Over a year it took to gradually dose him down to basically nothing, which when he finally said, "This isn't working for me," quit. And I believe hasn't touched it since. The point I'm going to make is why that worked. It's nothing to do with the crack, obviously. The crack was just the excuse to party with his friend, the crack dealer. It's funny how when you pay someone $15,000 for crack, they're willing to stick around and be your friend for a few hours or a few days. I'm just saying. Hell, I'm willing to take pictures of your bratty kids for $1,000, most of which I'll give away. So, it doesn't make me altruistic, it just makes me as insane as the drug dealer. Because what I really should do is take that money and run like the wind. Make up a bunch of fake videos, use AI. Oh yeah, look at me, I'm giving away the pizza. And in the background, I'm just eating all the pizza myself. Just every night, pizza after pizza, covered in pizza. Cute baby alert. I got hypnotized myself into a trance by walking. I seem to have lost my train of thought. However, sure, whatever I just said was absolutely brilliant, or at least funny, silly, enough to convince Grace that I'm the so-called man of her dreams. least the male of her dreams. At least a suitable partner. Maybe just a sperm donor. Or maybe I'll just go live in Japan amongst all my grandchildren. Past conquests.